So good morning. Sanjog, I welcome you to this class on digital forensics. In today's class, we are going to discuss about the steps involved in cybercrime investigation. We'll also be discussing about the holistic approach to cybersecurity. These are the two topics which I have lined up for today. Okay, so let's begin today's class. Now, you see, in this era of digital India, a lot of technology and so many developments are taking place around us, and so many other inventions are still under process. Especially in the times of COVID, you see, people are, research is at its peak, right? So, like all these things, give us a motivation to really tighten up our the security system and to take care of any threats which can be there if there is some cyber crime. Okay, now as we see with this increasing technology, the crimes related to technology are also increasing. Okay, and we do have two acts, IT Act 2008 and IT Act 2010, which is an amendment of the 2008 Act to take care of these. But the rate at which these crimes are increasing is, humongous, is huge. Okay, so like some of the cases that we can consider which are registered, they are data theft, hacking, unauthorized access, pornography, intellectual property thefts, that is theft of intellectual property rights, IPRs, cyber terrorism is there, viruses are there, and many more threats are there under which the cases are registered. So cybercrime becomes a large threat. It has become a big threat to the business and to even for the common man and for the national security as well. So every area of the society is affected by cybercrime. May it be business, may it be national security, or may it be any common person, because there is an intrusion into the privacy of the common man also. Like we are using our laptops, our desktops, our mobiles, we are keeping a lot of data on it, we are sharing data, we are doing transactions, okay, we are maintaining our bank accounts. So so people with vested interest are really looking at all the possible ways to intrude into our privacy, okay, and to give us a monetary loss. For that, this cybercrime investigation becomes very, very important, so that we can track down these people who are committing these cyber crimes. Okay. Now, what are the various steps which are there in cybercrime investigation? The methodology. Number one is questioning. Okay. Number one is questioning. Now, when we need to collect the information of about the crime, how it was committed or how to proceed the investigations, then questioning is the first strong thing that we can take help of. Okay, questioning the individual or questioning the concerned people, like if it is a cyber threat, then we can see, discuss, question all the IT people, asking for like if any information has been shared with any other person or anybody who has intruded into the network of the organization. So this questioning can be done. The next is gathering information. So how can we gather information? Like most of the times you see, we are looking for the webcams, the wire traps, okay, and information can be collected from hackers' computers also. Okay. Then the computer forensics comes in. Okay, once the questioning and information gathering is done, then e-forensic tools are used to collect the evidences. The collected evidences should be maintained carefully because you see they have to be produced in a court of law. So first is the questioning, then it is gathering information, and then the computer forensics comes in. E-forensics tools, like they'll be gathering information over the network, from hard drives, from laptops, okay? And these should be collected and maintained very carefully because later on they need to be produced in a court of law. Now, what are the techniques of cybercrime investigation? Okay, इसमें we'll be discussing searching who is, then we are tracking the various IP addresses from where the intrusion into the system or into the network was made. Then web server logs can be taken help of, where every information about any person entering and doing some activities and leaving, all the log record is there. The various email accounts can be tracked. Okay, then we can also recover information from the deleted evidences. If some files have been deleted, then we can also try to recover those deleted evidences. We can also try to crack the password, and we can try to find out the hidden data. Okay, all this can be taken care of while we are investigating a cybercrime. Okay, now while all this is done, the person which is involved, the investigator, the computer forensic investigator, he should follow some of the investigation methodologies in order to find out the truth. Okay, so some procedure needs to be followed, and the evidence should be gathered in such a way so that the person, the investigator, follows all the norms that are there for collection of evidence. Then it should be maintained and retained safely, so that we can use it later on against the perpetrators of the crime. Okay, then now the forensic investigator, what he should do, he should follow the following steps in investigating the cyber forensic cases. The process of investigation should not ruin the reputation of the investigator and also the reputation of the organization. So once again, the the ethical part in this investigation should be maintained. The investigator should not cross his line, so that it does not bring a bad name to him and to the organization for which he is working. Okay. So if there is any legal issues, then the company should call a legal advisor, so that, like, before taking any step, okay, any step which can be challenged in a court of law, the company should first call a legal advisor to see the modalities of the investigation. And then the first response of procedures is prepared by the forensic investigator. Like the first response, like whatever he has observed for the first time, whatever is the response of the people concerned, so it should be prepared by a forensic investigator. And the evidence is gathered by the forensic investigator, and it is afterwards taken to the forensic lab. Okay. So just see what we need to take care of, that the investigator, the forensic investigator, works in a proper way, okay, legal way. He should not cross his line of investigation. Whatever power, whatever authority he has, he should not cross that. And once he has done the initial investigation, he prepares something known as a first response of procedures, that is FRP. And the evidence which is collected by the forensic investigator from the crime scene is afterwards taken to the forensic lab. So let's now discuss about what is criminalistics as it relates to the investigative process. So the first question obviously is, what is criminalistics? Okay, criminalistics. Yeah, criminalistics we can say. Criminalistics refers to a specialized section within the larger field of forensic science. Okay, so a criminalist is a person responsible for the recognition, documentation, collection, preservation, and interpretation of physical evidence from a crime scene. So anyone who is doing all the work at a crime scene, dealing with a crime, dealing with criminals, is known as a criminalist. Okay, and the primary duties of criminalist is recognition, that is recognizing the crime, documenting the evidence, collecting the evidence, preserving the evidence, and later on interpreting it in a court of law. And criminalists are also often required to testify in court about their specific findings. Okay, for that they need to interpret whatever they have collected. Okay, now the most common specializations within the field of criminalistics include, okay, so we could have a person who is a specialist in firearms and tool marks. As you would have seen in the movies, people are aware, like the crime was committed with which is what size of revolver, what is the size of the bullet, whether this bullet would have been used in the crime, so on and so forth, right? So firearms and tool marks specialized criminalist is a person who focuses on the types of firearms used in the crime and any scratches or striations on spent bullets. Okay, so bullets also he can identify, like whether the bullet would have been used in the crime or not, right? Then one who trace evidence, criminalists who traces evidence. So they are, they are specialists in microanalysis of fibers, hair, soil, food, plastic bags, and anything else that can provide information about the context of the crime. So, like for us, if we see some plastic bag, we would say, okay, it's of no use. But a criminalist, when he finds such evidences like plastic bags, soil, hair on the crime scene, they can trace out a lot of evidence out of it. Okay. Then another specialist could be DNA and serology. Okay. So they are related with any tissue or biological material that may contain DNA. So they are the DNA experts. Okay. Then we have drugs, alcohol, and toxicology. Okay. So toxicology would mean that they would do some chemical reactions, some chemistry-based analysis to identify controlled substances in powders, pills, and liquids and body fluids. So these are the people who are specialists in drugs, alcohol, and toxicology. Okay. Now, this we have just discussed is the specialization of criminalists, right? Now, what are their duties? What they do? Okay, so they use their knowledge of physical and natural science to examine, analyze every piece of evidence from a crime scene. Okay, this is one of the tasks that they do. Then they prepare reports of their finding and may have to present their reports in court. Okay. Now, what they are not supposed to do is they are not supposed to determine whether somebody is guilty or somebody is innocent. Okay. Their job is just to present an objective analysis of the evidence because detecting or justifying whether a person is guilty or innocent is the job of the court of law. Now, there are several key skills that criminalists need to be successful in their work. They must be detail oriented. Okay, this is one of the skills that they must have. That is, they should be detailed oriented. They should work so that while collecting evidence, they can go to the maximum detail about the evidence. Okay, and also for them to document their findings, they have to be excellent written and verbal communication. They should have excellent written and verbal communication skills, and they should also have a strong critical thinking and problem solving skills. They should think beyond the box. Out of the box thinking should be there, so that they can think about some situation, some evidence in the best possible way. And they should have a solid background in science, statistics, physics, maths, and ethics. Okay, that's very important. It shouldn't be any ordinary person, who just knows about one particular thing. He's specialist in, say, DNA, then he should be also just only knowing that. He should be good in science, in statistics, in physics, maths, and ethics. By ethics, we mean that he knows where to draw the line. What are the restrictions on his work area, so that he just not just go should not go beyond the boundaries and interfere with some other processes while investigating a crime. And they should also be comfortable in testifying in a court of law. So when they need to present their evidences after interpreting and analyzing them, they should also be comfortable to testify in a court of law. Now, most of criminalist work is performed in laboratory unless they specialize in crime scene investigation. So, another type of criminalist is, of course, one who is an expert in crime scene investigation. Otherwise, most of the criminalists, they work in a laboratory. And their job typically includes recognizing what information is important, collecting and analyzing evidence without contaminating it. Okay, that means preserving the evidence and organizing all information and evidence coherently. Coherently means that is one piece of evidence correlates to the other piece. It's in a sequence. It's in a coherent way. It's not presented in a haphazard way. Okay. Now, this we just saw. So there is some more detail about the specializations of criminalistics. Okay, alcohols and drugs, arson. By arson we means like if there is some fire, they can detect the exact cause of the fire. Okay, arson. I'm sorry. Arson is like arson is when there is a chaos in the society. Okay, जब ये कोई लूटपाट हो रही होती है, दुकानों की तोड़फोड़ हो रही होती है, इस तरह की जो स्पेशलाइजेशन है वो भी होती है क्रिमिनलिस्ट में. And then blood and tissue spatter, computer forensics, DNA, explosions. They are experts in explosives also, like what sort of material would have been used in an explosion and what damage it could have done. Okay. Then serology, toxicology, firearms and tool marks, trace evidence, wildlife also. Okay. Now, this is wildlife specialization is required when you are analyzing evidence against poachers. Poachers is people who catch, animals, who should not be, just for like they're using for their skin, okay, and then so that there are certain specialized species which should be preserved. So the wildlife criminologists would be taking care of the poachers. Okay. Now, as long as the crimes continue to be committed, there will always be work for criminalists. That you understand. कि अगर crime है, तो criminalist का काम भी है. And a criminal will always leave evidence, no matter how minute, according to forensic scientist and father of criminalistics, Paul L. Kerr. We discussed this thing in our previous lecture also, that there, like a criminal, however smart he or she may be, is bound to leave some evidence, okay, however small it may be, okay. So wherever he steps, whatever he touches, whatever he leaves, even unconsciously, will serve as silent evidence against him. Not only his fingerprints or his footprints, but his hair, the fibers from his clothes, the glass he breaks, the tool marks he leaves, the paint he scratches, the blood or semen that he deposits or collects, all these and more bear mute witness against him. This is evidence that does not forget. It is not confused by the excitement of the moment. It is not absent because human witnesses are. It is a factual evidence. Physical evidence cannot be wrong. It cannot perjure itself. It cannot be wholly absent. Only its interpretation can err. Only human failure to find it, study, and understand can diminish its value. So, what is the meaning of this entire sentence is that there is evidence. Whenever there is some crime, there is evidence. That evidence could be a small fiber from the clothes of the criminal, or maybe a small glass that he breaks. Okay, even if he touches a wall and he scratches a paint. Okay, okay, the blood or semen that he may deposit or collect. Okay, now all these are present there. It depends on how smart a criminalist is to take care of it. Okay, and like if it is collected, its interpretation can also be there. Maybe the interpretation is a bit erroneous, but the evidence is bound to be there. That is what the father of criminalistics, Paul L. Kerr, has written in his statement or in his findings, right? Now, who employs these people? Criminalists. इनको कौन employ करता है? इनको कौन job देता है? So the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, predicts that there would be an increase by 17% in the decade preceding 2026. That is in the decade जिसमें अब हम हैं, right? So there is a lot of work for criminalists. Okay. So which agencies are going to hire them? Okay. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosive, Central Intelligence Agency can hire them. You've seen them in CIA or CBI, they're investigating. They require people who are experts. So criminalists, they are hired by such agencies. Okay, the Drug Enforcement Administration, Environmental Protection Agencies. So the list is long, right? And other employers include private companies also. Like all these we have listed is the government companies, okay, or the government organizations, even private companies, educational institutions, like educational institutions, if their website is being hacked or if there problem with their networks, like somebody is intruding, somebody is interfering with the messages. So they can also hire these criminalists. Then the crime laboratories, right? So they should be very good in their skills so that they can be hired by all these companies and organizations, whether they are government or whether they are private. Okay, so let's take a small poll here if you wish, right? Let's take a poll. Okay,
Okay, sir.
can you see the poll now? Answer these two questions on digital forensics. Like whatever you think about it, and then I'll share the answers with you, and I'll discuss the answers with you. The first question
Who
is,
deals
like,
with the
who deals with the protection of an individual's information which is implemented while using the internet on any computer or personal device? What is a term that is? So
So
I'm giving
digital
you just
privacy.
15 seconds. You can just click the answer. Yeah. अब आंसर सिर्फ टिक कर दीजिए, मुझे आंसर मिल जाएगा आपका.
The following do
Do
not
it
fall under the
fast.
three pillars of digital privacy.
Whatever you think, you can write.
Which of
Right?
the following
Don't discuss with me. You
do
just
not
tick the correct answer and I'll discuss. Don't worry about whether it is incorrect or incorrect. Select the answers now. Yes, Sanjog. I'm going to close this poll if you don't answer because this should be done immediately without any reference.
Sir, I have done it.
Okay, so I've ended the polling. I'm sharing the results. This is what you have chosen. The first answer is correct. Digital privacy is a term. The second one is under the three pillars of digital privacy, there is an information privacy, there is an individual privacy, and there is a communication privacy. जो आप किसी से बात करते हैं, चाहे WhatsApp chat करें, WhatsApp talk call करें, video call करें, nobody else can see it. So that is another privacy. Okay, there is no family privacy. Okay, the answer to the second question is family privacy. All right, got it?
Okay, sir.
This was a short poll for you. Now let's discuss a very important topic, that the holistic approach to cybersecurity. Okay, so we say that organizations that adopt a comprehensive approach to cybersecurity or a holistic approach, they are ready to prevent any attacks on their organization rather than those who do not take a holistic approach to cybersecurity. That means it should not be just a small approach, okay, we'll take care of cybersecurity. It should be a holistic approach from so many angles. Okay. And such an approach should incorporate people, processes, and technology. Okay. It should incorporate people, processes, and technology. That you should keep in mind. Okay. So I'll discuss it in detail now. Let me just open up PPT for you. I hope you can see the PPT. This is cybersecurity, a holistic approach to business resilience. Can you see it, Sanjo? The PPT?
I can see the font is very small actually, so it's a bit hard to see.
I wanted to put it on one screen, so that's why I kept the phone. You can just zoom your screen, I would say. If you
It is fine, sir. It is fine.
Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when we say cybersecurity, a holistic approach, we must understand the new reality of cybersecurity. You see, in this new digital world that we have built, security threats have become a fact of life. Everybody is having security threats, not only companies, not only organizations, educational institutions, government organizations. Every individual is under a security threat. So it's become a fact of life. So these threats are everywhere. Okay, they're just looking for their prey. ओके जैसे हम देखते हैं, हमें एक फोन कॉल आता है कि आपका जो एटीएम है वो बंद हो गया है, आपको 16 डिजिट अपना एटीएम शेयर कीजिए नंबर, है ना. These are the threats. People are just trying to deceive you and take your finances, take some important things from you, some important information, maybe financial loss to you. Okay, now it is like a big change from what it used to be 20 years ago, when the uh, this computer, the usage of laptops, the technology was not huge. But in today's world, this cyber threat is there everywhere. Okay. Now, what is the cyber resilience paradigm? Okay. When we say cyber security, there is something known as a resilience parameter in it, a resilience model in it. What does it mean? That we must assume that something will happen and we must act accordingly. That means we must know what are our threats. We must understand what are our threats, and then we must act accordingly. Okay. Now, the sole objective of cybersecurity is no longer to keep the bad guys out. Okay, but also enable businesses to continue as usual, minimizing damage and continuity risks. That means we must foresee things that in this domain, in these areas, these problems, these threats are bound to occur. we must keep a track of the things which are going on there, and we must put in into mechanisms, processes which can take care of these things. Okay, we must foresee this thing. क्राइम या थ्रेट उसको होने के बाद नहीं हमने एक्ट करना, हमने पहले ही सारी जितनी भी चीजें हैं जो कि उस थ्रेट को प्रिवेंट कर सकती हैं, क्राइम को प्रिवेंट कर सकती हैं, हमने उसको पहले ही देखकर उसका इलाज करना. ओके, now the bigger picture, there is something known as a business ecosystem. I hope you understand this business ecosystem. Just a second. Yeah, the business ecosystem is your organization is having a lot of things. The infrastructure is there, the network is there, computers are there, people are there. So we must take care of this entire ecosystem. Okay, whether we have the people layers are there. Okay, so where from wherever we can have a breach into our security, we must plug that breach. जहां पर भी हमें लगता है कि यहाँ पर हमें प्रॉब्लम होगी, ठीक है, चाहे वो इंडिविजुअल्स में हो, चाहे वो नेटवर्किंग थ्रेट्स हो, चाहे वो हमारा एक बिल्डिंग का एक इंट्रूजन का हो कि कोई भी यहाँ से आ सकता है, छुप के आ सकता है, या कोई कम्युनिकेशन थ्रेट हो, तो वो हमें पहले ही फोर्सी करना पड़ेगा. दैट मीन्स वी मस्ट टेक केयर ऑफ आवर बिजनेस ecosystem. Okay, so for all these problems, that is, if something wrong is going to happen, some threat is there, somebody is out to deceive us, some bad guys are out there, and in our organizations जो organization के लोग हैं वही कुछ problem कर सकते हैं. So we must take care of this entire business ecosystem. So for that we must pick up a holistic approach to cyber security. Now what does this holistic approach mean? Okay, so the first thing that we must do in this holistic approach is to enforce basic hygiene. Okay, now what do we mean by basic hygiene? You see, is that every organization should look at three basic steps necessary to get the best results in guarding their systems. Number one, enforcing basic hygiene on our premises, collaboration with the ecosystem, and continually pressure test beyond a standard annual penetration test. That means हमें जितनी भी सारी जो भी हमारे मैकेनिज्म्स हैं उनको अपनी जितना हमारा जो इकोसिस्टम के प्रेमाइसेस हैं, जो एरिया है उसमें इन्फोर्स करना है. Then we must have a collaboration with the ecosystem, within the people, with all the network experts. There should be a good collaboration so that one is in touch with the other. And we must test our system at times, like with fake intrusions. We must test. We should have an annual penetration test. Okay, rather than an annual penetration test which occurs just once in a year, we should maybe have a weekly test of threats. Like we should put in some threat and see whether our system can detect it or not. So that means we should enforce basic hygiene. Then next is to bridge the skill gap. Okay, you see, when we talk of cyber security, we just don't say that it is the tech people, the IT people, the computer people. It's not the scenario nowadays. Okay, to become resilient, really, we require people from multiple disciplines. Okay, there is a need for technically trained people. Okay, with a background in science, in risk management, in finance, so that you see if there is any finance threat or if there is any finance fraud, then a techie people cannot foresee that or handle that, but a finance guy, an MBA, or a person who's a specialist in finance can definitely track it down. Okay, so we need all these disciplines to bridge the imminent skill gap. So if we are just hiring tech people, CSC, IT people, okay, AI people, no, that's not the idea. We must have people with backgrounds in science, risk management, finance, computer science. So we should have skilled people, and the gaps in skills should be minimum. There are bound to be gaps in skill, but they should be minimum. And one thing more, in today's world, we employ females also. If we are not getting sufficient manpower, we should not be saying that no, we should be hiring males only. Even females are doing excellent work in every area of the this industry and corporates. So equal hiring of females should also be there. Then another step in holistic approach is that we should be bold in implementing AI procedures. Okay, we cannot rely only on skilled people to detect the threat, the intrusions, the frauds. We must have some AI mechanisms also, because AI mechanism would filter the data and weigh the monitored events. Okay, so we must take the help of AI, and then we can later on use machine learning to point out the breach or the gaps in our security, and then machine learning can suggest, because it is something known as a predictive analytics, so it can suggest us what mechanisms should be taken further, and how we can investigate and think creatively and connect the dots that machines can't connect. That means we take the help of machine learning to predict things and then employ them in our system, so that we have lesser threats from people who are trying to get into our system. And then the fourth one, the important one, is that like we must keep an eye on the business and its assets. Okay, we must be resilient. We must have an eye, like what sort of processes we are keeping, what are the assets, what are our strengths. We must have an eye on the business and what we should do to protect, and to from what to protect it from. Okay, so translating that into measures, technological or process related, who is allowed to do what. Okay, so we have something known as the authentication and the authorization that you learn in databases. That is, who are the people who are allowed to do anything with the system, what authentication do they have, and the authorization is that what to what level an individual can work. Okay, what is his authorization, whether he can just view the things, whether he can monitor only, whether he can change the things. Okay, so we must take care of this, and the true business resilience lies here. That is to keep an eye on everything that is in the people, the processes, the assets, the people, and the levels of people, like who are authorized to do what. So this is regarding the holistic approach to business resilience. I hope you've understood, Sanjog. Any questions?
No, sir.
So that's all for today's class. Like if there is anything else that you want to discuss, then you can ask your questions here. Otherwise, we'll discuss the second unit, that is the crime scene analysis, in our next lecture. Thank you very much. I'm closing this meeting.
All right.